One of the new twists that Monster Hunter Wilds is bringing to the series is the ability to have a second weapon with you on hunts. It's been confirmed that hunting horn buffs will persist on weapon swap. Let's look at this quick clip of Rurikhan with the ARX gaming crew at Gamescom.
But like hunting horn, they do remain, and it is intended. It's one of those things that, like, if you're talking about just straight up degenerate speed running, yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. You're going to see like demon powder, hunting horn dudes, and then boom, go.
Yeah.
I'd have to say I agree with him. Weapon swaps will absolutely be strong and something that speedrunners or meta chasers will abuse. But the thing is that everyone is going to do what they want to do. Double hunting horn for a longer song list, taking a second longsword with you for double the sharpness, taking a ranged weapon for sleep or paralysis, do it. We're all dissecting this information about hunting horn buffs with the perspective of people who haven't even played the full game yet. There could even be other interactions like this to be found as we learn more about Wilds. I've tried to find confirmation of these interactions. All I could find is this Reddit user stating that Capcom did confirm that weapon charges will persist on weapon swap. So, that could include charge blade files, longsword meter status, insect blade kinsect buffs, and even things like gun lance ammo. It sounds like mechanics tied to weapons like meters will deplete naturally or maintain their status even when you swap weapons. And while a lot of gameplay is out now thanks to PAX West and Gamescom, it's not 100% clear how this mechanic will work. Honestly, this might not be something that many players immediately choose to mess around with. Swapping weapons on the fly in Monster Hunter is going to take some time to get used to, with the moment-to-moment gameplay in Wilds already looking to be quite different from World. All while adjusting to the new move list for weapons, seamless maps and quest structure, and the new weather effects and how it affects monsters. It is clear to me, though, that this will 100% affect the endgame meta and mixed set choices, which to me sounds great. The more options we have as players typically equates to a better experience. Beyond that, we don't know how smooth mounting and swapping weapons will feel. It certainly doesn't look viable to hop on your Sacred and swap weapons whenever you get a KO or some kind of a knockdown. So people being afraid of abuse potential with weapon swaps don't have too much to worry about. It does make more sense from the perspective of preparing for a hunt. For example, choosing a certain secondary for a specific monster because the weapon allows you to exploit that monster in some way, or you have a setup specific to your secondary choice. I do want to dive into a few weapons that I think will be seen as common secondaries chosen during the initial release period of Wilds. Chances are, whatever information that comes out of TGS will give us further confirmation on whether or not people are overreacting to the whole secondary weapon situation. My guess is yes, they probably are. Or maybe they're right, and everyone will become a hunting horn slave, and finally the horn players are going to have their revenge on the player base as a whole. Like I alluded to earlier, I would be surprised if the hunting horn as a secondary isn't just straight up the meta choice. Rurikhan wasn't the only source of confirmation for this whole hunting horn situation. SuperRad also put out a video showing this off as well. He explains that it's an exciting decision by Capcom to allow hunting horn buffs to persist on swap, but that there's also room for skepticism here. Why wouldn't most players, especially solo, have their very own hunting horn in their back pocket? Just having the benefit of the self-improvement buff is enough to make it worthwhile. If you don't know, self-improvement is a buff that comes with every hunting horn that increases your movement speed while your weapon is out. And it grants you Mind's Eye, which effectively makes it so that your weapon will always hit the monster, regardless of sharpness. Does Greatsword need to sheath anymore? How fast are hammer users going to move while charging? Dual blades with even more speed. Would it affect insect blade users in the air? But more than that, you have damage buffs, stamina and defense buffs, elemental buffs, healing and recovery buffs, and also access to knocking out the monster. Which, sure, swapping just for a KO sounds wonky, But even if you're semi-competent with the horn, a free KO is the perfect chance to reapply all your buffs. It might sound as though I don't like this choice by Capcom, but honestly, I love it. I think this will freshen up gameplay in a unique way and isn't something that everyone has to take advantage of. It will be strong, but Capcom have said that they're keeping weapon swaps like the hunting horn in mind when balancing the game. And really, how much balance does Monster Hunter need? As long as it won't interrupt the natural flow of gameplay like the Clutch Claw did back in Iceborne, then I think it's completely okay. We're talking about the same Capcom that basically fixed the whole tenderizing situation in this same game, so I would feel confident in their ability to keep quality of life in mind. This could be pure copium. It's one thing to hop on your mount and swap to your hunting horn to give yourself buffs after the monster runs away or gets distracted. But think about how often you see or use sleep setups on Palicos. Most people had some way of reliably putting a monster to sleep at least once or twice in a single hunt. Even if not, monsters tend to run back to their home or nest at low health and sleep. Not all weapons have great options for wake-up attack. If you don't know, the very first attack onto a sleeping monster deals double damage. So, the accepted and expected behavior when a monster sleeps is usually the following. 1, you'll put down barrel bombs, and 2, you'll let the greatsword user panic for 60 seconds in front of you because he keeps whiffing his TCS and has to reset, and then the monster's awake. But what if you don't have a greatsword user, or a hammer user for that matter? Now imagine if one of you just happens to have a greatsword or hammer handy as a secondary. It probably won't matter as much online. Someone will probably have a decent wake-up attack, and if not, let the barrel bombs do the work. So let's think about solo gameplay. Imagine if once the monster's asleep, you're able to whip out the stick. Even just a fully charged level 1 swing on greatsword would be worth it, especially for those whose main weapons don't have great wake-up options. The ease of access is what I think is big here. Even experienced greatsword or hammer users can just always have one accessible to ensure the process of waking up the monster is smooth. I feel like there's a reason why Capcom showed up the idea of swapping weapons with one of the ranged weapons. Having the ability to easily sleep or paralyze the monster, placing a trap and then just unloading your new ignition clip, or just having an easier time hitting those hard to reach wounds and weak points. There's a lot of flexibility with a ranged secondary. I can see a lot of players choosing a ranged secondary because it's easy, it's fun, and pretty strong. I do think that the bow has a place here in this regard as well. I just feel like the bowguns are easier to deal with and have more of a secondary feel to them. The bow has an actual moveset instead of just picking what type of ammo you want to use, which by no means makes a bad choice. I'm just approaching this more through the lens of a player who isn't choosing 2 main weapons to bring to a hunt, but a main and a secondary to support it instead. But bow would be absolutely cracked for a 2 main weapons kind of player. Either way, swapping for a paralysis wouldn't be as easy, but you could swap to a ranged weapon to sleep the monster and easily swap back. Being able to do this once or twice a hunt yourself, and then using your Palico for paralysis seems like the play here. There's lots of ways to utilize swaps with ranged weapons. There's for sure other weapons that have interesting potential as a secondary. This list is by no means comprehensive and is only considering whatever preliminary information we have at this point. What are you hoping to see announced at TGS later this month? The beta can't come soon enough. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.